But oftentimes, people may end up suffering from procrastination or whatever goofy name they give it. Laziness, thinking for the future planning, future proofing, whatever little concepts people can design with their minds. The question is, do they even remember in the end what procrastination may be or what it is? See, in the end, when we think about procrastination, procrastination is not necessarily a sin or whatever, because there is this trend that people do things and then they suffer because of those. Procrastination secretly is one of those. Because in the end, what procrastination is, it is nothing else but the result of the numerous voices that you have heard throughout your lifetime, opinions and points of view of voices tinted with poison and self-sabotage and the such. When we think about the self, see, the self is what you have designed. It is a marvelous construction designed mostly of other people's emotions, other people's points of view, um ideas, viewpoints, whatever you want to call them, regarding the world, how they felt the world, and more importantly, how they told you the world is and how they emotionally felt when they told you that. You may not have perceived the emotion, but the self sabotage, abandonment issues, and all sorts of things, both karmically inherited from your ancestors, right, including your family and their ancestors as well, and also taken these same aspects, taken from the environment that you live in, have led to you creating a persona in which everything has to be slowly and surely postponed to the future because of becoming tinted and poisoned by this comfort where everything is left for the future because you are comfortable in this misery, in this drama of what you have been programmed to be for the so called today. See, when you become dangerously entrenched in comfort, well, unfortunately, action becomes a luxury, and you will waste so much time imagining how you will do things. And as time passes, well, it won't stop for you or for your sake, but as time passes, you will suffer everything that you could have done, right? Thinking of whatever you could have done, right? So the point is, all of these thoughts, nudges, telling you to simply postpone things, ask yourself if you are truly tired. Because in many situations you may be tired, yes, but your mind, your life forces can easily replicate in many situations this tiredness. Because when you do something repeatedly, you're convincing your life, right, the forces within you, that is the reality. That is how things have to be. So your mind and other parts of you will replicate those things with great ease, I may say. So a lot of people may not necessarily be tired. Well, maybe they're not physically tired, since nowadays I see there is this trend that most people feel tired physically, but they don't necessarily do anything. Maybe they are mentally tired or emotionally drained by vampires or environments that don't necessarily suit them. Well, in most people's situations, the whole society kind of sucks hard enough that, they feel down, they feel bad because, well, being sensitive in this world, I can tell you from personal experience, it is never too easy. Because when we think about things like this, when you can easily feel most people's emotions, dramas, when you look into their eyes and you see the nothingness of what they are, and then you just hear their expectations that they want you to be like them. It's like, no, I'm not going to waste the rest of my life in investing in anything that would make me even at least a bit to be similar to the ruin, to the mess, to the nothingness that those people are. Because in the end, this is how misery functions. Most people who are miserable, they just keep investing in the same drama, the same stuff that happened to them. And they become so good at rehearsing all of these pieces of misery, all of these pieces of nothing. And well, the more time passes, well, the better they will become at that. And at the same time, the more they will regret not having done anything. In this mess that they entrench themselves in, they keep lying themselves that everything is fine, everything is good. As time passes, they will become even better at lying themselves that, which means becoming more and more pathetic in the end. When that happens, see, a lot of people kind of have this problem. Everyone who functions differently than them must be brought in line with them, because this is how misery functions, narcissism and the such. Because the more miserable people are, the more narcissistic tendencies they will have. And not only that, yes, but the point is, people will simply want you to also do the same shit that they're doing. And since most people aren't doing shit anyways, they will want you to not do anything and to keep dreaming that the perfect life is always found in animes, in movies, in video games, where they have to rescue virtual princesses or princes and do reverse harems and whatever feeds their mind enough, distraction from the reality and the pain of actually being nothing. Well, you were born nothing anyways because you didn't have any idea, emotion, perception. You didn't have anything in your mind. You didn't have any emotional or let's say active emotional and mental attachments other than let's say some karmic stuff towards which you will tend to throughout your life. But in this current life, you came with nothing. You literally didn't have any clothes on you either. And well, in the end, this is how you will live most likely. The clothes that may be on your body once it has departed and got buried, or well, incinerated in some people's cases, they will mean equally nothing. They will mean as much as the thoughts that you have poisoned your mind with, or maybe other people most likely poisoned your mind with, and you weren't karmically strong enough to simply bypass those. Because every life of suffering or every life of joy will ultimately be nothing else but a new brick in what it takes to achieve the idea of full enlightenment or realizing how fickle the mind is, how well it can become and how easily it can become a cruel master if you allow it to take control of you. Because if people don't know how their mind functions, everything that their mind will present them with will be taken for granted, will be also taken as real. That is why a lot of people cannot distinguish dreaming from reality. To many people, dreaming is, just another kind of reality, which in very few cases a dream can be prophetic, but those are extremely rare cases. In the end, even if they happen to be a prophetic dream, how do you realize that? You go to Google and ask, a machine will never tell you that, because a prophetic dream is always tailored to the one that will actually have it. Yes, you have to be sensitive enough to perceive that. So a lot of people end up procrastinating because they feel worthless of a better future. They don't feel ready, which translates to they feel very uncomfortable if things actually change for the better. They're not worthy of a better life. They're not better of a better spouse because all they have seen is misery. And to the mind, the moment when you lose some thoughts, some ideas, when things change, your illusions, your so-called perceived realities start to crack. And when that happens, you end up thinking that everything that you have emotionally invested into is equally a part of yourself, just like your organs are, just like your limbs are. And when those illusions start cracking, you will feel as if you are dying. That is why a lot of philosophers call it the dying of the ego, the dying of the self, where just some illusions you have built are simply fading away, alongside the mechanics and stuff that you have built to support it. See, the more people procrastinate, the more of a luxury taking action feels, right? It is time that people simply wake up from this illusion. Procrastination may be good when you need careful planning, but other than that, if nothing much happens in your life, you have all the time to set yourself for a much better future, whatever it may be. Hopefully this video raised a bit of awareness. You are appreciated, take care, enjoy life, and this being said, Ferenjan Board signing out.